So with the new release of the Apes series coming out this weekend, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, I thought it'd be cool to go back to the original, which seems to have a stark contrast in directing and narrative style. But I found it just has a little tweak to the narrative that really does change the whole outlook on it. It's kind of like 2001, where it has one notion, it feels like, and it's pulled out to a stretch. See how far it could go. But this one is directed by Franklin Schaffner. It's written by Michael Wilson, Rob Serling, and one other person. And it stars Charlton Heston, who is named Taylor. He leads an astronaut crew towards an ambiguous mission from the pretty close future, what is now. And things go awry in Hollywood fashion, and 2,000 years later they crash land on a strange planet that seems to be indigenous to native intelligent apes that don't trust these humans, and they kind of use humans as we do to study apes and their headspace and all that jazz. But it has some unique things in there. It's got very playful writing, which I enjoy. It's cheesy and playful. It plays around with like cliches, like lines like "human see, human do" is written throughout, which I really enjoy. But from the very get-go, it's kind of you're kind of in a trance. From the beginning, with the cinematography, there's plenty of dolly zooms in here. This could be titled Planet of the Apes, dolly zoom, if it wanted to. It's almost as if a film student was lectured on dolly zooms, and they were tasked with making a film around it. But I didn't mind it. It was very it added to the film. Sometimes it detracts from it because it just felt like too much. But there's canted angles in here. There's just overall, it's some fun techniques with camera, as well as being directed very traditionally with long takes, and sometimes that can get old because I'm used to the fast cutting pace of the modern film world. But it was a nice refresher. But it's really this is well known now, but the makeup is really impeccable. You get the sense that the apes are really individuals, and that's not even not only a testament to the writing, but the great makeup and the dedicated actors and extras. And I've read and heard interviews of how tough the process of making this was. It seemed very difficult to get through the long days, and it worked out. So the pacing is pretty fast. You never really get a chance to settle down. Besides the Act 2 is pretty. There's a lull kind of in the middle, because I'm not sure if it's just the notion that we're used to. There's so many films nowadays that sort of strike the philosophical line. Ex Machinas, sort of playing around with the same themes, but more with technological advances that we see fit for our future. But if you flip that, it's sort of similar to this film. Some notes that I observed throughout the film. The Forbidden Planet clause in there. Robert Gunner looks remarkably similar to Sean Connery. It's just little things like that. It's just this is an overall fun film. The political and social commentary really doesn't bog it down as you expect it to. It's very lucid and comprehensible, nothing too crazy, but it gets its point across in a fun way. And the score really is interesting to me. It really does play around with the long takes that it tends to do, and it's a character in itself. And I guess the final point I would like to make is this is sort of a problem nowadays, and it seemed to be a problem with this film and maybe even films earlier, that I mean, it's a problem in the literature world as well, where you kind of judge a book by its cover. You judge a film, but presumptuously, before you even watch it, by its title. I think it's easy to condescend on a film, saying it could be terrible just because of the title. I think it's similar to Baby Driver or modern films like that, where or The Nice Guys, where you just see a title that's kind of it seems different, and it just seems like a film that wouldn't be as quality as you would like to enjoy. But I can't excuse myself from that group. I'd like to think myself as more free thinking nowadays, but it is a hard task to get that out of your mind. But this is a film that can really prove to you that you should stick with a film before you judge it too harshly. And this film was really enjoyable from start to finish. You can't really keep your eyes off of it. As I mentioned before, you kind of get in a trance with its style and narrative, and it really, you should stick around to the end. It has one of the biggest, iconic twists I've ever seen, and other film lovers have seen. And that's it. That's pretty much it. I'm looking forward to Dawn of the Planet of the Apes pretty soon. And if there's another film in the Apes franchise, I'll struggle with that title as well. They just seem to be getting longer and longer. But to keep it simple and have a refresher from these big epics, it's nice to go back in history and see kind of where it all started. So enjoy it.